Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Nerd Pod, where we discuss nerdy news and all things nerdy entertainment. If this is your first time here with us, my name is Christian, and I am very happy to have you. I'm here today with my very own super friends. I have Austin. Hey. I have Haley.
Hi.
I have Mark.
What's up, everybody?
And back again, I have Mitch.
Hey, everyone.
So I'm excited to have this big cast with us today. Because we have such a big cast, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, listeners, viewers, if you want to grab a snack or put us on while you do some chores around the house, whatever, go ahead and feel free to do that because we are ready for a long one today. Now, as usual, I'm going to start us off with the news. I'm going to briefly talk about season 2 of The Academy and The Boys because I actually heard some news last night that I want to insert into our news segment. So they put out trailers recently for season 2 of The Boys and The Academy. I know I personally have watched The Academy, and so I was wondering who here has seen either one of those shows, if you guys are looking forward to the second season of each of them based on the trailers. So let's start with Haley. Have you seen any? Are you excited about any?
You start with the person who hasn't seen them.
That's okay.
I haven't. I'm like literally. I just don't like to sit around and watch TV.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's only a few shows that I will continually watch. So I haven't started any of that yet. My days are like work, reading, and Sims. That's about it.
That's okay. I haven't watched The Boys, so I can only speak about The Academy. How about you, Mark?
Yeah, The Boys is one of my favorite spins on like a superhero storyline that I've ever seen. So I like most people, just kind of I saw through social media, just everyone was talking about like you got to watch The Boys, you got to watch The Boys on Amazon Prime, and I gave it a shot in like the first 10, 15 minutes. I was like hooked in. I'm like, okay, this is a really good show. And like usual, when I find something that I like, I don't space it out well enough. I pretty much binge in.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, oh, great. Now I have to wait until, however long it takes for this to come out. So season 2 seems like it's dropping earlier than I thought it would, at least initially, just because I'm not used to with Amazon Prime originals. I don't watch too many Amazon Prime originals, so I wasn't sure how long of a lag there usually is between seasons. But it seems like it's coming out sooner than I had originally thought. I thought maybe it would come out like, who knows, 2022.
Right.
So, I'm excited for season 2. I really enjoyed season 1. I'm not going to spoil it for people like Haley who haven't seen it yet. But Haley, I will tell you, like most recommendations I make, I only recommend good things. So give The Boys a shot. It's a cool spin on like it's not your average superhero, campy type of series. It actually is pretty cool the way that they spin it.
Yeah. Okay. So when you say The Boys, I didn't know what you were talking about at first, but just you mentioning those things, Mark, I remember seeing the preview for like the first season and it looked super good. My husband started watching it and loved it. So I'll add it to my to be done watch list.
Yes. It's on mine too, because it does seem like an interesting take on superheroes. I watched the trailer for season 2, and they said a phrase in there that I'm not going to say on here in case we have younger listeners listening, but I was like, oh, okay, is that kind of show?
Yep.
I realized. So, yeah, I'm glad that you're excited about it. How about you, Mitch?
I haven't watched The Boys. It's on my list. I'm actually kind of bad sometimes at watching TV shows. I think the only one I kept on top of was like Game of Thrones and Smallville when back in the day. Otherwise, I'm always kind of late to the party. But I have watched Umbrella Academy and I loved it. I thought it was a little bit predictable in some aspects, but the cast, they all work so well together that you forgive those parts of the storytelling because they just have so much chemistry between all of them that you're kind of like, okay, I can work with this. And the ending I really liked for season 1, so I'm pretty excited to see where season 2 goes. And like I said, I'm not going to go into it either because I don't want to spoil it in case anybody wants to see it, but I'm really like excited to see it. And since Mark recommended it, and Mark never goes wrong with these recommendations.
Never.
I'll probably try to start The Boys this weekend, see if I can get into it. It looked to me like kind of like a Hancock version
Right.
of superheroes.
Mhm.
Not the crappy part of Hancock.
The
but like
reimagined part of Hancock.
exactly the parts that
Yeah.
worked. So I'm gonna give it a try.
Nice. See, I liked season 1 of the Umbrella Academy, but I liked it watching it. But when I was watching the season 2 trailer, I was like, I might need to go back and rewatch the first season. For some reason, it ended up kind of forgettable to me. But I am excited about the second season also. How about you, Austin?
So I've like started to watch like the Umbrella Academy, and I like have to watch The Boys, but like I watched the trailer and stuff, and I've like seen like reviews of it on like YouTube and stuff like that. So it looked very good. I just haven't had time to watch it because I've been busy. But it looks really good, and I can't wait. Obviously, when I watch
Mark's
it, and then I can't obviously wait for the second.
Busy with what, Austin?
Austin builds
School.
furniture.
Cool. Yeah, IKEA.
Hey, nothing wrong with school. I was gonna say something, and then we talked about furniture. I talked about furniture, and now I spaced on it. Yeah, no, I feel bad because I feel like there are all these shows I need to watch, and I just don't have enough time to watch them all. I still haven't started The Mandalorian, for shame. But the boy, I know, so terrible.
I've only seen like 2 episodes out of season 1, so
I genuinely want to.
You're
watch
both
it.
canceled.
rude. We're in a band. We started last night.
Oh, that's true.
Yes. I need
Alright,
to
I
watch
take
that
it back.
episode and hear this story.
Yes, you do.
So again, season 2 of the Umbrella Academy and The Boys coming out. If anybody is excited, let us know in the comments. So the news I heard last night, which was really exciting to me, is that HBO is picking up a Batman show. And this Batman show is going to be in the same universe as the Batman movie. So I know that we have some pre-fans, because it hasn't come out yet, so I'm going to call you pre-fans of Batman. So I wanted to go around and ask everybody, what do you think? I've heard some things. I've heard some things about villains. I've heard some things about who we might see. So I'm going to go around and ask. I'm going to start with Austin. So I'm going to go backwards from the order I just went in. So Austin, what do you think about this?
I like it. So like I've recently been rewatch. Like I watched like initially when it came out, I watched like the first season of Gotham, and now I'm like rewatching Gotham. So like I feel like it could really like benefit from sort of being like it's obviously gonna be like a similar TV show to that, but it's probably gonna be a lot better because obviously Gotham had its extreme limits where they couldn't do certain characters because DC wouldn't let them. Like they couldn't do the Joker. They did the Joker, but they couldn't do the Joker. And they pushed the limits with the Joker, and DC and Warner Brothers got real mad at the producers of that show for it. But like I'm really excited for it because I think the person who's playing Gordon is a really good actor as well, and he said he's gonna be in it.
Yeah.
And like obviously Cameron Monaghan, who played Jeremiah in Gotham, tweeted something out about it, and he brought up a very good point about like the Gotham Central like storyline, which is a really good comic book arc. So I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be really cool. Like you said, I feel like the fact that this is part of the Batman universe means this show is going to have so much room to kind of flex its muscles that other shows haven't been able to.
And it's also going to have a very big budget too.
Yes, which is the nice thing about them bringing it to HBO, because it's not going to be some CW lower budget. Not that the CW has like crappy shows, but HBO just does it a little bit bigger than other people. So, Mitch, how do you feel?
From one standpoint, like you just said, HBO has a really good track record of not only just budget wise, but just quality, especially in the last. I mean, honestly, you can go back to The Wire. HBO has had more hits than misses when it comes to creating TV shows and stuff. I'm still a little worried because Warner Brothers still has me a little, iffy about the stuff that they've put out in terms of like the DC universe, and I just don't want them to do too much at once now that they've launched HBO Max and all this stuff. It's just like a part of me kind of wants to just see what's going to happen with Pittman and like I want them to see that's successful first before anything, before they even focus on a show. To be quite honest, they've kind of lost my confidence as a DC fan a little bit. But you know, I'm excited that HBO's involved. That for me gives me a bigger vote of confidence in it. But I'm cautious.
Yeah. I like that. And I like that because I know that you're a big comic book fan. So I like that the fact that they bring that in is going to get you a little bit more excited about the show. Because I'm hoping it's going to be really good. How about you, Mark? What do you think?
Yeah, this is definitely welcome news to me. So similar to what both Austin and Mitch and yourself, Christian, have already kind of alluded to, HBO's involvement is a huge thumbs up just initially because
sorry.
AOL.
That's her 10-year-old MacBook finally starting up.
That's my ancient
Good
laptop.
morning.
That should have been from our 90s episode.
We needed that.
Oh boy.
Anyway,
sorry, apologies.
HBO's track record with series like this. I mean, the first thing I honestly thought of was Watchmen. For recent series, kind of limited series that they devote a lot of resources to. They give you a unique spin on some type of a superhero type universe, and also being a DC property, Watchmen. So they knocked that out of the park. I think that they could knock this out of the park too. Similar to what Austin brought up with Gotham, that's kind of what I thought of right away. It's like, oh, well, we already got a series devoted to the Gotham Police Department. But I think that it could be different in the sense that with Gotham, it jumped the shark a tiny bit. Like I enjoyed it on the whole, but they focused.
I agree with that.
Yeah, they focused quite a bit on some of the supernatural Batman villains, and it also becomes a little bit more difficult to invest yourself in Gotham when you know that you have a young Bruce Wayne who's obviously learning the ropes. It was a unique interpretation of that universe, but it's also like, all right, part of the beauty of Gotham PD is that they're going to rely on Batman to help them with some of this stuff, and Jim Gordon taking a young Bruce Wayne under his wing and getting him out of trouble, like it isn't the same. So I think that working in this universe would be I think a better interpretation of it's what I'm looking to see. And then additionally, I like that DC is basically, they've finally gotten to the point where like, okay, we're going to copy as best we can the model. Marvel is already obviously full on board with their plan to use series to better flesh out their characters, to add context to their cinematic universe, and DC is now doing the same thing. So like Mitch said, DC has done things to upset their fan base, and this is one of the best ways to help get them back. Number one, deliver on your films. All right, deliver on these films you have in development, but also create these series to add intrigue in the middle, and find a way to add context to your characters. Jeffrey Wright is obviously a fantastic actor, but you're going to give more context to his Commissioner Gordon so that you actually appreciate him a little bit more in the films. So I think this can only be a positive if they get it right, and that's the big caveat. They need to get it right. I have confidence that they're going to get it right due to HBO's involvement. So this does seem like it's going to be successful to me. It's welcome news.
Yeah. And it's along those lines. I kind of feel the same way they've talked about in Green Lantern HBO show, which excites me too, because I've said it a million times. I feel like Green Lantern deserves another chance. So I feel like doing it in a longer context allows for that. And I think with this HBO show, we're going to get a chance to dive into Batman in a way we haven't before. And I feel like for big DC fans, that's going to bring more enjoyment, because we're getting closer to like comic book level of, we get to see different complexities of characters. Now, Haley, I know you don't watch a lot of TV, but how do you feel about this one?
Well, okay, so the only DC thing I'm excited about, honestly, is the next Wonder Woman. So, not gonna lie, I love Batman. I'm not really sure about Robert Pattinson. I absolutely hated Twilight. It was garbage, and that is like the main thing I've seen him in, other than a little bit of Harry Potter. So, yeah, I'm just stuck on like, I don't know. I feel like you can be a better actor, but your acting was pretty crappy in that one. So, I'll give it a shot. But as for the HBO one, I'm a little mad at HBO first off because the Roku is no longer going to support HBO Go. So we have to like turn on our like PlayStation or Xbox to watch it now instead of being able to watch it on our Roku. So yeah, thanks for that, HBO Go. HBO, I don't know, like their shows are obviously really good, but also can not be as cut rate towards the end. Look at Game of Thrones, you know?
Yeah.
So rushed at the end. The last season.
Or harsh. Sorry.
Anyway,
harsh but true.
I will defend it until the day I die.
True Blood was only based on the books for like 2 seasons. Okay. And then people who were supposed to be dead were alive. There was random people. They left out a whole bunch of characters. It didn't end anywhere near like the books ended. I mean, you didn't even see who she like ended up with. You don't even see his face. You have no idea who this person is. So I'm a little salty still about that. I read all 13 books, so I'm still mad. I enjoyed True Blood, but there were just a lot of things that they left out. So I feel like HBO can sometimes go either way. Like they can start off really good and then end really crappy, or, you know, in general, or some of their shows I just think are like not good from the beginning. So I'm hopeful for y'all's sake that it is really good, because I know that you guys are going to watch it, but I probably won't end up watching it unless my husband's watching it and I'm in the room reading a book.
You'll be like a side watcher. That's okay. Yeah. I appreciate the positive vibes for the rest of us. So moving on from DC, we're going to jump over to Marvel real quick, because I have news that's personally really exciting to me. We have confirmation from Kate Shortland, the director of the Black Widow movie, that Natasha's Black Widow, this movie will serve to hand the baton over to the younger character, Yelena, who is she called her sis in the trailers, but another Red Room trained assassin. So it looks like we're getting another Black Widow in the MCU. So with that, I had to do some research. I had never heard of Yelena, so I dug in a little bit and found that she is really not a good guy, in terms of she is not really ever truly a hero in the comics. She is very competitive. She always wants to be better than Natasha. She does everything she can to get Natasha's way, to try to kill her at times. And even at the end of her life, she is actually turned into an android human hybrid by Hydra, and ultimately dies while she is trying to infiltrate the Avengers and destroy the Avengers. Spoiler alert, in case any of that comes up in the movie. This is all comic book based, so hopefully I'm not spoiling anything. I just wanted to give our listeners some background on her, because I didn't know who she was. So knowing all of that, we have Natasha Black Widow, we have Yelena Black Widow. I want to ask you guys, how do you think they're going to compare? What do you think? Do you think we're actually going to have a villainous Black Widow in the MCU? And are you ready for a new Black Widow? So let's start with Mark. Are you ready, Mark?
Yeah, I'd say I'm ready. So first and foremost, just the concept of handing down like the mantle of a particular hero or just figure in the MCU. You know, it's starting now. Obviously, we're going to have a new Captain America. That at the end of Endgame. So the concept of, you know, it's possible that obviously Black Widow, this film is taking place mainly in the past. Obviously with, you know, if you haven't seen Endgame yet, Black Widow's dead. Sorry.
Spoiler alert.
How dare you?
I've gone 15 months without seeing Endgame and you're bothered by that spoiler. That's your problem.
How dare you?
But yeah, I mean, it's quite possible. I mean, think about the events that unfolded prior to Infinity War and Endgame. You know, Natasha Romanoff was on the run. She was part of the Secret Avengers with Captain America and Falcon. She wasn't going technically by the name Black Widow. No one was calling her that anymore. So it's quite possible that however this film ends, ends with Yelena taking that mantle from her. I don't know if they're actually sisters or they're like adoptive sisters in this incarnation of it on screen. It's been hinted that they're all a family, but we don't know if it's a nuclear family. But I think it's cool. I mean, the concept of passing that mantle down, and I don't expect her to just like, oh yeah, I'm Black Widow now, I'm just going to join the Avengers. No, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think that she will have her own interests. To answer the question, Christian, I don't know if that involves particularly, being evil or just, not being like, I'm not a superhero. Maybe she, again, depending on how the movie ends, we don't know yet. We won't for another 4 months. But maybe her and Red Guardian, David Harbour's character, they're their own, kind of separate team. They're on, doing their own thing. So. Maybe they're not heroes, but maybe they, Taskmaster is still around after this movie. Maybe he's not defeated, and they're specifically geared towards trying to take down Taskmaster. It could manifest itself in a number of different ways, but I think the main takeaway is yes, it's cool, and also no, I don't think that she's going to show up at New Avengers HQ and be like, hey, can
I sign up?
Join? Yeah.
Where's my application?
I'm Natasha's friend.
Right? You don't know me, and that was my other thing I wondered is if we do see any connection with Yelena and the Avengers, I wonder if it's going to be somewhere that Clint is like, I know you, or I've heard of you, or something like that. I just wonder if Hawkeye is going to be familiar with
maybe
her.
She was in Budapest.
Maybe she was in Budapest, and we could finally learn more about Budapest.
Isn't it Taskmaster? Wasn't Taskmaster there as well? Didn't they say Taskmaster was in Budapest as well? I could be wrong.
We're gonna find out.
There you go. No, we won't go too in depth with it in case we have people that don't know, like me. So yeah, I hear what you're saying, Mark, and I like the direction you went with. Maybe they're still after Taskmaster, because I feel like that could also be a pretty easy way for them to eventually get her into the Avengers if they have to go up against Taskmaster, or maybe since she's an espionage-based person, she'll have information for them. I think you're on to a lot of really good things there. How about you, Mitch?
I like the idea of seeing Black Widow as more of an anti-hero than anything, kind of like maybe a force on the side that you don't know if they're good or bad, almost like the way Magneto was in the X-Men movies, the good ones. Where the origins. Just kidding, he's not in that. But yeah, like kind of how like Magneto was, where he would, align himself with the X-Men for his self-interest, and then when things got bad or when it didn't fit with what he wanted, he, went away and acted also as an antagonistic force. So I think that would be an interesting take on Black Widow on the big screen and the small screen as well, because maybe she can show up in the Hawkeye series as well. So I think that would be much more interesting, because we always hear about the bad stuff Natasha has done in the past, but we've only ever seen her as like this good person who's reformed and everything. So Yelena could serve as like an insight into her past as someone who wasn't always good or reformed, or seeing the error of her ways, and she could serve as like a mirror of what that was in the past. So that I'm really interested to see.
I love your take on that. I like the idea of her being this kind of shadow figure hanging around the MCU. I really like that. How about you, Haley?
Yeah, I was just literally thinking while Mark and Mitch were talking about how much I loved Loki being like the bad guy, but sometimes being the good guy with his brother, and I feel like she could kind of portray that role in the MCU as well, where she's like mostly a bad person, but sometimes wants to be the good guy, wants to join in with the fun and stuff. And I have always loved the female villains, like DC when I was younger, with Poison Ivy, Harley Quinn, all that. So I personally wouldn't be mad if she was a villain in it.
Yeah.
So what I know about her is what you've told me, basically, just now. So I'm just excited to still kind of have that female role and that, like, a strong female in that universe.
Yeah, and that we're not losing a Black Widow. That kind of was comforting to me, too. Yeah. I think we don't have, I mean, I can't remember what her name is. The gold lady from Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I feel like is kind of, I guess, and Hela. My point is, I feel like we haven't had too many female villains, which, I mean,
but we do have a lot of good
thing.
We have a lot of good, like, female heroes through Black Panther and the Scarlet Witch. I mean, she's part of the Avengers, so she's a good guy now, at least. Yeah, I don't know how she was in the comics or anything, but...
And we'll see how she is now going forward.
So it'd be, right? So it'd be nice maybe to see the villain side, since we do have a lot of good, like, female, strong heroes.
Yes, that's true. I just randomly, I'm going to go off on a tangent for like 3 seconds, but I realized, I wonder what happened. I wonder if Shuri took over Wakanda once T'Challa when he was dusted. I just had that thought the other day. Shuri was dead?
She was also dusted.
Mm-hmm. I did not know that, so I wonder. I just had that thought, and it had me intrigued the other day.
Who took over?
I'm hoping
Killmonger was dusted.
I'm hoping that it was M'Baku who took over. Because
that was my other thought. I love it.
The best.
I can't wait for the second Black Panther. By the way, thanks COVID for pushing back all the good movies.
Right? For real.
We will not have it.
Yeah.
We will not have it.
M'Baku.
Oh, I love it. Seriously, like, after rewatching that, I was like, he's such a little teddy bear. I love him. Anyways. So, Austin, how do you feel about the potential for a new Black Widow?
I like it. Obviously, you can't really do much with Natasha's character since she's dead. So getting a new Black Widow is probably a good idea, considering she's such a main... Like, obviously, it's going to be a change because it's not Scarlett Johansson playing, it's Florence Poe. Mm-hmm. But you need somebody who... you need something that isn't a drastic change, because it's going to be a huge change in the DC, the Marvel universe, because Cap is gone, Iron Man is dead. Mm-hmm. So you need those characters that have been established. Obviously, it's a new version of said character.
Yes.
But she's like, you know who and what she's going to be. She's going to be a former Russian spy created by the Soviets. So she's badass. Like,
she's gonna look good in a tight black suit if they do it that way.
Like, she knows how, and she's gonna be that sort of enforcer for the Avengers that they don't have right now, because their enforcer just died by jumping off a cliff.
Yeah. Well, and she brings, again, the level of humanity. Obviously, we have Hawkeye, who assumably is going to keep doing some superheroing, but he and Natasha really brought that level of humanity and relatability. But we're also the foil for the rest of us, like, normal people, of like, oh yeah, they're just people who have a lot of skills, which Natasha still came through in Ultron and was like the hero of getting the cradle back. My fiance wanted to argue me on that, and I was like, no, I'll die on that hill. She totally saved everybody's ass on that one. But yeah, that tangent just made me lose my train of thought. But yeah, I think it's going to be good to continue to have a Black Widow in the series either way. I know I'm personally really looking forward to seeing what direction they take that in. Now for Haley, I saw this trailer and had to watch it because Haley's our resident Sim nerd, and they're actually coming out with a Sims game show, which I just wanted to throw in here as a really interesting thing. Maybe we have some gamers who would like to watch it. It has a storytelling element to it, so there are teams of people who write stories and then create those stories through The Sims. And the winner of that show is going to win $100,000. So, I mean, they're serious about trying to make this a good show. And the trailer showed a lot of emotion and what looked like maybe a lot of fun. So for any of our gaming people, especially those of you interested in Sims, maybe that's something to watch. And I figure maybe Haley and I can watch it together because she likes Sims and I like writing stories. So maybe it'll be a good show for us to watch together.
Yes.
Nice.
I do love
Now-
game shows. And just real quick
Mhm.
before we move on, if y'all have not watched The Floor is Lava, I think on Netflix or Hulu, I
It
can't
is
remember
on
which
Netflix,
one.
yeah.
It's hilarious. Anyways,
Is it really?
it's funny because they have to like
Is it like Wipeout?
they kind of. I mean, they have to get to one point to another point by using the props in the room. But like when
Mhm.
somebody falls in, they're all dramatic, like it actually is lava. So it's just like, you're like, no, and you're like, okay, it's water, but whatever.
But it's fine.
I mean, hey, it
Probably
could be
lukewarm
slightly
water.
warm water.
That's true.
There
Which
we
is
go.
if anybody wants to watch some like mindless game show TV thing on Netflix,
Yeah.
there you go.
I mean, that's a good one to put on while you're doing dishes. That's
Exactly.
my personal opinion. So with Sims, I know that Sims has brought a lot of joy to Haley's life. So along those lines, I want to jump into our main topic today. So with what's going on in the world, I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, a lot of motivational speakers, and I've recently become aware of the power of negativity and negative thinking upon our lives, and decided it's a really, really good time to bring some positivity. So for today, I want us to talk about shows, so TV, anything that's broken down in episodes, movies, comics, and books that have had a positive impact on our lives in whatever way. I also wanted this to be a way for our listeners and viewers to maybe get some suggestions. You know, if you're feeling a little bit down right now, maybe you'll find something today that will uplift you and bring a little bit of light into your life. And I want us to be able to amplify any positive messages that are out there. So this is our chance to show you guys the things that we think are good and are putting good energy out in the world, and for us to spread that message. My hope today is that maybe you will find something that will bring you joy, will bring a little bit of positivity into your life as we go through our list. So for our viewers and listeners that don't know, I am a PE teacher. So for today's episode, I wanted to do something special, and I'm going to get a little teachery on you guys. We are going to have a set order of how we're going to speak, and we are going to pick this order by going from tallest to shortest. So we're all going to have to share our heights. I didn't do age because I figured some of us might not want to out ourselves on how old we are.
We're all pretty much the same age anyway, except for Austin's younger than
Except
us.
for Austin's the baby.
Yeah.
So I'll go first because I think I'm probably the shortest person here. I am 5'1" and 3/4 because that matters to us short people. So that's my height. How about you, Haley?
Well, I always thought I was 5'5", but doctors keep trying to tell me I'm 5'4", and like a half or something. So I'm still gonna stay with 5'5", okay? Because that half I rounded up.
Nice. That's like my fiance. If they ever tell him he's anything under 5'9", he's like, no, they're wrong. I'm 5'9".
Exactly.
To have that.
You're wrong. I'm 5'5".
Yes. How about you, Mark?
The Italian genes have definitely rubbed off on me. As much as I'd love to be one of my 6-footer or taller friends, I'm only 5'7". But
All right.
Low center of gravity.
That's all right. Exactly.
Still taller than us.
That's fine. Yes. How about you, Austin?
I'm like 5'10".
5'10"? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, Mark. Not that, I mean, 5'7" is a great height to be. Like, you do, your height is amazing for who you are. But I definitely, out of everybody, was like, Mark's gonna be like 6 feet tall. You just put off that kind of energy.
I have
voice.
confidence.
That voice.
Right? Yes.
The voice.
And how about you, Mitch? How tall are you?
5'4".
5'4". Nice. So
Gotcha.
yes,
1
right.
inch.
Just barely edging out.
I think
So
she's only
for-
got me by a year. We're both October babies, like one day apart, but
Oh,
she's got me on
nice.
the year, so
Yep.
Okay, that's all right. And you guys, I mean,
we're
she got you.
like this now.
But
We're
Haley's got
UFO
you on
too.
height, so we're
We're
yes,
UFO
exactly.
too.
Guys,
That's
you're
right.
definitely gonna have to tune into that episode of Crime Pod and hear
Yeah.
that because
Mhm.
it sounds like fun.
It's a really funny
So-
episode.
Yeah.
Good. I can't wait to hear it. So for our viewers and listeners, I'm going to go over our order. We're going to go Austin, Mark, Haley, Mitch, and then I will go last. That will be our order for every part of this subject that we go through. So our first one, we're going to start out with me introducing the category. I'll give each person their time to speak and share what they want to share, and then we can all talk about it if we have any feelings about it. So first one is TV. anything, this counts as anything that's broken down in episodes. Doesn't have to be something that actually aired on a TV network. So since Austin is our tallest member today, we're going to let Austin go first. What TV show would you like to share?
Friday Night Lights. I've been rewatching that show. I see Mark.
Don't forget High School Musical, the musical. Okay.
That's true. Those
But
might be close.
like, I've just been rewatching that show because like I just love that show. So I've just been rewatching that show.
Good. So what?
And I guess Smallville.
Yeah, Smallville is good too. So I know you talked a lot about Friday Night Lights. What about that feels so positive to you? What keeps bringing you back to that?
Just that feeling of like togetherness in like a certain group. It, cause like and cause like I played football for 10 years, so like it reminds me of like those times that I had.
Yeah.
And
so it has that nostalgic feel to you.
Yeah.
And plus, I feel like a lot of team movies just carry a lot of positivity with them in general because you get to see the bond that teams have.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm sure.
And Coach Taylor is just such a good speaker.
Nice. I've never seen the show, so I'll take your word for it. But I've heard really, really great things about it, so I can totally see. So, for especially any of our sports fans, Friday Night Lights. How about you, Mark?
So I have two that I wanted to share. One that is something that I definitely watched during my formative years, and I have referred to it previously. It's more on the nerdy side, and one that is definitely not on the nerdy side, but definitely hits on all the emotions. So I'll start with that one. So if anyone is not a huge viewer of the Food Network, there is a chef named Robert Irvine, and he has a program called Restaurant Impossible.
Oh, good.
I am a really big fan of that show. For anyone who's not familiar with the concept, he basically goes in. It's like the Extreme Makeover Home Edition Rescue, but specifically revolves around either a sole owner or partners, people who have had a restaurant for whatever reason, whether it is through their own incompetence or unforeseen circumstances. Their restaurant has fallen on hard times. As the either sole proprietor or partner involved with that restaurant, they're struggling financially as a result. It's their life, it's their livelihood, and he basically comes in with his team. He has, a contractor. He has an interior designer that pretty much work with him on all of his projects, and some other associates. They come in. He helps them redesign their menu. He helps them redo the look of their restaurant. He helps them find a way to attract new clientele. He basically gives them a fresh start on life, and it's always really inspiring because you listen to what happened with that that particular person or persons. Oftentimes it is them making excuses as to why this happened, but it's because so and so let me down. And you kind of from afar be like, well, this person was making excuses in their life, and they've been given a second chance, and I think by the end of the episode, they realize, okay, really it wasn't X, Y, and Z that caused this to go wrong for me. It's something that I did, and I've been given a fresh lease on life. Sometimes they've been given additional capital. They basically get to reopen their brand new restaurant, and you often see at the end that sometimes there's the occasional restaurant that they fell back into the same bad habits and they got which really sucks, especially after Robert and his team came in and gave them a fresh start. But oftentimes, more often than not, they've taken advantage of that lifeline, and it just it really kind of as a person, just as a human being, you just feel great about that, and you like to see people get a second chance. I think that such a big concept in life is the concept of getting a second chance and making the most of it. So It's something that I really enjoy watching. I think it spreads an incredible message, and it obviously promotes the notion of you never know what someone's going through, and so often people's livelihood becomes their life, and you can give people a new lease on life through kindness and generosity, and you hope that they take advantage of it.
Yes, I love that. And Robert Irvine is another, like, talk about big teddy bears. Like, if anybody hasn't seen him, he's this gigantic, like, muscular British dude who tears up very frequently in his show because it just means that much to him, and he gets so like involved with these people, and it's I love him. He's a big teddy
also
bear.
wasn't he also in like the Royal? He was in the Royal Marines, I think,
or something.
As well.
Yes, he's a military guy.
He sounds like the yin to Gordon Ramsay's yang.
Right? They'd be so good together. Yeah. Let's show together. Make that happen.
I love that suggestion, Mark. And how about your other one? I'm really interested to hear about this one.
And so the other is something that I've alluded to many times before, and when I watched when I was a young kid, and that was Power Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I know that on the first thing people think of is just a campy show with people in spandex fighting against monsters. Sure, but really the original ones that came out when I was 4 or 5 years old, I would watch every Saturday morning, and a big influence in those shows was actually just the concept of martial arts, and they incorporated a lot of the Rangers themselves either participated in or taught martial arts, and a couple of them actually taught martial arts professionally outside of the show, and it got me to get into martial arts. I took Kenpo from
very cool
around the age of like 8 through 12. I got to the point where I was a 3rd degree brown belt, so I was probably a good away from becoming a black belt. And ultimately at that time I was getting into middle school sports and homework and everything. Everything was kind of piling on, and I had to find something that I needed to kind of drop to cut back on responsibilities, and that was ultimately what I dropped. And I think it was the right decision in retrospect, but I definitely appreciate what it taught me. It taught me a lot of self-discipline. It taught me self-confidence at a time where I didn't have much. And I definitely wouldn't have gotten into it if it weren't for that show. So as kind of corny and campy of a show that is, it actually did influence my life in that sense, and I know it influenced others too.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And when you're 4 or 5, when you're young, the corn in the camp is all welcome because it just looks really cool to you, and giant monsters and all that stuff. So
yeah,
I really like that.
I used to love Power Rangers.
Yeah, I did too, actually. So Haley, what are yours? Thank you, Mark, for sharing. I appreciate that.
Yes, Mark made me think of one when he was talking about Robert Irvine's restaurant Impossible. One of the feel-good ones that really will make you cry pretty much every episode, whether happy or sad, is Queer Eye on Netflix.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh,
that's why I stopped watching it.
I was gonna say that.
Yes.
I watch it when I'm feeling down or just not feeling. I watch it. I'm like smiling.
They're amazing.
At the end of every episode.
Yes, they do such good things. They transform people's lives, and not just the 5 things that they're supposed to be good at, but dental work for people who don't want to smile because they hate their teeth, and so much more. I don't want to spoil the 5th season if people are still watching it. It's still pretty new. By the way, Fab 5, I know that COVID has messed up your Austin recording filming, so I'm here if you need another person for that season. I'm available.
Yeah.
Anyways, so yeah, Queer Eye will.
We should add them.
Right, please. I need Christian to nominate me because 1, she's a writer and she'll make it sound better, and 2, I'm not allowed to nominate myself. So yeah,
right. I should get on that.
That's just a really good. It's just such a good show, and they do such amazing things, and they're just really sweet people, and really good at what they do, what they specialize in. So it just makes for a great show. Yeah. So thanks, Mark. You made me think of that one. Oh, I totally, when I was doing this earlier, didn't think of it, but I should have. One that I really want to watch that I have not watched yet is actually The Babysitter's Club on Netflix, which sounds weird. It was a huge book series when we were a kid, but apparently one of the main characters, Stacy, is actually a type 1 diabetic, and they discuss it and they talk about it in the show. And so for me, somebody who's newly diagnosed 2 years in, like, that's kind of exciting to see. Like, they're not hiding it, they're highlighting it. One of the main reasons I loved the Jonas Brothers documentary is because they talked about how Nick got diagnosed and the symptoms he was having and stuff like that. Like, just putting it out there and letting people know what it is and what to look for and stuff like that. So that is on my list now. Just a few others real quick. Any serial killer or true crime documentary when I was younger, which sounds horrible, like young, really made me choose that degree, this field that I'm in now. So I feel like those things, even though they're probably disgusting to a lot of people, were so fascinating and interesting to me that it kind of just created this love for that criminal justice field. And then now I'm in crime scene. So even though I didn't know it was doing that throughout my life, it really just kind of molded my career for me. And then Buffy, I've mentioned multiple times on NerdPod, but Buffy was just not just an amazing show, but it was a lot of strong female characters. You had Buffy, you had Faith, you had Willow, who was a lesbian, and that wasn't maybe something that a lot of shows highlighted, but Buffy did. And so I just feel like that show for young women was really good because it showed you a strong character to kind of look up to. At first, they made Buffy like the ditzy blonde cheerleader, but like they kind of grew into more of that like badass role, and all the female slayers after her and stuff like were highlighted as these really strong women. So for me as a woman, that was really cool, and that made me like want to aspire to be like them. Can we not cancel Halloween this year because I wanted to be Buffy for Halloween? And if that's ruined, like, gonna be mad. If you haven't watched The Bold Type on Hulu, I think it's Freeform, but it's on Hulu. I love that show as well because they touch on some really serious topics like gun control, miscarriages, stuff like that, things that aren't talked about as much, in a really good way where they show both sides. They have open discussions between the friends and they support one another like through everything. So
and they show that you can disagree but ultimately come to like talk things out. We don't have to always be against each other.
Like have an open discussion, like what Julian Edelman, if you didn't watch his little comments video to Deshaun Jackson about the like anti-Jewish, what was it? Oh, like a Hitler quote, where he was like, let's have an open discussion. Let's go to museums. Let's talk about this and see why we don't know maybe the other side. So things like that. That's what The Bold Type shows too. And so it's a really good show, especially it's 3 girls that are best friends. And so, I relate to that. One last one. Because before this started, I was like, man, I have nothing. I don't know. And then people were talking and it made me like write some down. Was what Austin was talking about Friday Night Lights. It's not a TV show, but women's soccer. Like, as a soccer player, and then now as an adult, I don't play soccer anymore. But the women's team, like the camaraderie, obviously they win a lot. But so like the World Cup, the Olympics, but even just the regular season, it's just really cool to see and to watch and get like pumped up. I every time the World Cup is going on and USA women's team is playing, I am like hyped. So I love it.
And not to minimize the men's team, but I feel like women's soccer is the one area, at least for like Americans, where women shine. Like our female team is so good. So I agree with that for sure.
And it makes me miss playing soccer every single time.
Heck yes.
Well,
I agree. Haley and I played
US
soccer together.
Hockey is also very good, but no one pays attention.
Oh, nice. Well, thank you for bringing that
up.
So
now I need to.
Aren't there games like live streamed?
I'm going to.
Something, Mark?
What?
Aren't there games only like live streamed on like Twitch or something?
No.
Isn't there like
the Olympic teams always play TV?
No, I'm never mind.
I'm gonna watch it the next time.
I didn't know that. I really Thank you for highlighting that, Mark. And Haley, I just wanted to say, you brought up, all your crime shows. I think that's great too, because we're not all going to find the same things positive. Like you said, some people might not like it, but it's obviously had a really great positive impact on you. So maybe there's somebody out there that needs to watch something like that, hopefully to be inspired to good things.
Not to be a serial killer.
Not to be a serial killer. So how about you, Mitch? I'm excited to hear.
So the two I had planned were Queer Eye and Buffy. So I'll throw those out. No, just
Mitch,
kidding.
Why are we not best friends?
I'm telling you, we're like
Made
two
for each
peas
other.
in a UFO pod.
Yes.
Nice.
But yeah, Haley touched on those, and those are really great, I think, series that what I like the most about Buffy, and I'll just expand a little bit on that, and then I'll give you my other two replacement picks, is that like Buffy really metaphorically tells you about like the journey that we go through in high school as we're growing up. We don't feel comfortable in our own skin. We don't have any sort of direction of where our lives are going. It touches on a lot of things. I mean, even the entire season 3 with Angel kind of like touches on losing your virginity and how that can change you as a person. So I think that's such a great show, especially like you said, for women. But I think anybody can watch it, honestly, because it's got such great characters, and you really care for all of them. The especially the three of them. Yeah. Queer Eye, of course, like Haley said, it's a show that'll make you smile. It's honestly like they're all so positive, and what I like about it is that everyone that they encounter, there's something different from the last person that they encountered, like culturally, religiously, what are their locations at. I mean, they even went to, I think, what was it, Japan, for a season. And I really like that they just don't, because it used to be Queer Eye for the straight guy, and then it expanded into just Queer Eye. And I really love that they expand even to people who you think might not be aligned with how they are as people. I know they did one episode with like a preacher, and that's something that you wouldn't really think about, that they would agree to that. And I really just, that to me was really powerful, because sometimes those views not views, but just, people, they don't really align with what their beliefs are, but they can, meet in the middle. I thought that was really powerful. As far as my picks, my nerdy side picks Smallville. It came out in 2001. I was 11, so I kind of really grew up with it, even through some of the more hard to watch seasons. But I'm a big DC fan. I'm a big Superman fan, and when I got an opportunity to see it on TV, I thought it was great, and I kind of grew up with the character. So it was a really nice feeling when your favorite superhero is shown on TV, and you get to grow up with that character. And it was kind of like a really positive thing for me, because, I remember it came out, what was it, like October 2001, just after 9/11. So it was kind of like something positive to really look at. And my other show is Orphan Black. I really love that show. It's very like girl power. I love Tatiana Maslany. I think she's such a great actress. Sometimes I would watch the show and I would forget that she's the same actress playing a whole bunch of different roles. I really like it. It also, for some reason, when I watch it, I kind of like felt like very confident as a woman, because there's so many roles that you can play as a woman, whether it's like a cop or someone who's a housewife or whatever. They're just all these roles that you may play them, but they don't make you weak, whether it's housewife or cop or anything like that. There's just so many things that you can do, and that's a really good show. And it ended on a positive note, so positivity.
Nice.
I'm adding that to my watch list immediately. I'm just like that. And real quick, before you go, Christian, for those who haven't watched Queer Eye, let me just tell you, there's a season where they have somebody who got shot in the back and it paralyzed them, and they have him have a conversation with his shooter. Like, that's how amazing this show is. Like, they sit down and they have an open discussion conversation. So I highly recommend.
That's so powerful.
Yeah, it really was. I think it was the Philadelphia season.
Okay. I was going to bring up the episode where Tan and the police officer that they were doing a makeover for sat down and talked, because that had me in tears. I was bawling through that conversation.
Karamo too, yeah.
Yes. Was it Karamo that sat down and had the big conversation with him?
I think it was Karamo and Tan, like, because they're both people of color, you know.
Yes.
So.
That was, oh my gosh, I just bawled through. I think both of them cried when they were talking. Like, I'm gonna get all emotional just thinking about it.
It was amazing.
Yes, that's such a good show. I recommend it too. So I appreciate everybody going. I'm going to jump into mine now. So I've mentioned before that I'm an anime watcher. Anime is a huge part of my nerdy identity, quote unquote. I'm actually wearing a shirt to represent my first show that I'm going to talk about, and it's called Haikyuu. I've brought it up before when I was giving credit to the animators of the show and the mangaka who wrote it. And I wanted to talk about it again because it's had such a huge impact on my life currently. I started watching it again at the beginning of quarantine, and just to give a brief synopsis, it's a show about a high school volleyball team that stars two rivals. One who is a very short player, which is obviously a huge disadvantage in volleyball, who has amazing natural talent, and then a savant, a natural prodigy who just has all the skill in the world to play volleyball. And it juxtaposes them, but also shows the power of two people being willing to better themselves at any cost, to not only work for themselves, but to work for a team. It shows great character development amongst all the different characters. It's one of those shows where they might introduce an enemy team, and at first you're like, oh, I hate these guys. But then at the end of it, there's always at least one person on the other team that you're like, oh my gosh, I love, like, you fall in love with a character in every episode. And it's impacted me so powerfully because that drive that they show to get better all the time was a huge factor in me beginning to take my personal health back under control. I started working out because I watched it and just said, I miss being athletic. I miss feeling powerful and feeling strong. And so I started off with running back in April. Was it April?
Mm-hmm.
It's been a long time, guys. So I started off with running, and I have now lost 20 pounds. And that was, thank you. That it was a lot of hard work on my part, but that I can't even tell you why it motivated me so much, but that got me out the door. That show got me started on such a powerful journey of change. And I've watched YouTube videos where other people have said the same thing. They said, I watched it and it got me off the couch. It got me running or weightlifting or whatever it did. And
I'm
so
gonna need you to show it to me. I need to watch it the next time.
I would love it if you got into it. My sister and I connect in a huge way over the show. That's another reason that I love it. We talk about it all the time. And when I told her I was going to feature it, she said, that's the one show that I would say you have to talk about because every episode brings something positive. So that's my really nerdy one. The other one I wanted to talk, I'm actually going to talk about two. I'm going to go over Crocodile Hunter really briefly because when I was growing up, Steve Irwin was like my hero. Like Steve Irwin, right? And I've said before, I believe here on NerdPod maybe, that I bawled for hours when I figured out that he died. Like that was such a devastating loss for someone I had never met, but that was just the impact that he had on me and my life. Part of the reason I was so in love with animals, just part of the reason I wanted to be a vet up until my senior year of high school. He just had a massive impact on my life. So if there's anywhere that you can watch Crocodile Hunter and you've never seen it, go watch it, because Steve Irwin was an amazing guy who did really, really great things in the world before he unfortunately passed away. His kids continued to do amazing things.
I think they have a show too, right? His mom and his wife and the two kids have a show.
Yes. And Bindi Irwin is his daughter. They showed like when Bindi was born. I literally remember watching her be born, and she got married, I believe this year. Yeah, this year. Wow. And again, I cried when I figured out she got married. I watched his son on what's his name? Yes, on Fallon. and just watching his son and hearing him talk, I cry big because I was like,
he's so much
it's
like
a tiny
him.
Steve Irwin.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
it made me
it's
cry.
like exactly like his manners.
Yes.
He's
Oh,
an amazing
like that.
photographer too. Amazing.
is he? I need to check out some of his photography work. I just know watching that, my fiance showed it to me, and he looks over at me and he's like, "Are you crying?" Like, yes.
Maybe.
Look at me. And my other one is not just for adults, but also either for kids or parents who want to try to give their kids quality content. Obviously, this is my opinion, so take it with a grain of salt. Screen what your kids are watching. But a show called Steven Universe, it's a cartoon show on Cartoon Network. I don't know if any of my super friends are familiar with Steven Universe.
Oh,
but
I remember watching it like years ago.
Yeah,
like,
oh God, has it been years? I've said
a couple
before,
years.
I'm a
We're old
non-discriminatory
to
nerd.
Austin, Christian. Okay.
That's true. That's true. So I've said before, I'm a non-discriminatory nerd. That means I watch anime and superhero stuff and cartoons. And Steven Universe is one of those shows that is a kids show in the sense that it's played on a kids network, but they go over some really intense adult issues. They go over abusive relationships and getting out of abusive relationships. They talk about different sexual orientations. A lot of the main characters we would consider lesbians, but their whole society is identifies as female. So then that's kind of that convoluted of what it actually, that's just their normal. And so you get to see that from a standpoint where it's not stigmatized. You get to see them go through realizations of being in relationships and arguments and how to resolve them in healthy ways, and just so many good lessons that I feel like are easily absorbable by kids because of the format that it is put in. So if you're a parent and you want some quality life lesson content for your kids, I would look into Steven Universe, screen it first, like I said, make sure it's something you are okay with your kids watching. And if you are, maybe sit down and watch a couple episodes with them. Maybe it's something you could share with your kids and you guys could talk about some of those bigger topics. So yeah, those are my three. Really, I appreciate, like I said, thank you.
It's never too early to start, sharing with your children, children, the fact that, there are so many different, like we talk about, representation matters.
Yes.
They're different genders, they're different sexual orientation, they're different races, different religion. I mean, these themes are definitely self-evident these days, that there are so many people out there who maybe should have been exposed to those concepts because they've grown up to be adults who are intolerant. So
yes, I completely agree with that. And that's why I think it's so important to find the good shows for kids that do teach those lessons. Because I'm not going to lie to y'all, I feel like a lot of the cartoons nowadays are kind of hot fire garbage that melt our kids' brains. And so,
so obviously, like, you guys grew up with like some like the Rugrats and stuff like that, and like sort of I grew up with SpongeBob, and like all of them are so bad now. Like when when I stopped really watching like Nickelodeon, Disney Channel, all of them, I mainly stopped watching them because they got so bad.
Yeah.
Like some of this, like I've watched like a couple of like episodes of some like the newer shows on like Disney Plus, and like the recent shows, and they're all so
bad.
Like they're
Well, they I feel like they don't have any quality to them. I don't know how to phrase it. My words are failing me right now, but it's kind of just like humor for humor's sake.
Yeah.
Like it's just some of them mindless entertainment.
Yeah, no, exactly. Some of them dive into like big topics, like I know Boy or Girl Meets World, they dove into like I think it was that she was gay or something, I think.
Okay.
Obviously that's like a big thing for a Disney show to do. But
yeah.
Obviously it got bad towards the end, because like I watched like the first season of that show. I watched like Boy Meets World as a kid, from like repeats of like Freeform when it used to be ABC Family, but some of them just like got so bad.
Yeah,
it's not ABC Family anymore. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's that's why I said Freeform. That's why I said Freeform when it was ABC Family.
That's funny, right? Exactly. We're all getting old here, except Austin. You're still pretty young.
I mean, I'm getting old.
I feel old.
No, you are not. Calm down.
I mean, I'm getting old, but I'm not getting old.
He's like, I'm getting older, but not like y'all old. Is that
right?
What
not
exactly.
Not boomer.
He's just shading us subtly.
I can say
when I meet you, Austin.
I can say like when I was a kid, 14 years ago, I watched Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
God, Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. I remember my siblings watching that.
You're still a kid, Austin.
Yeah, right. I still feel like a kid, so that's fine. I mean, I just brought up a cartoon, which I wanted to say one more thing about Steven Universe before I move on, and that's one of the biggest things that I connected with was Steven has to overcome some of the negative things his mother has done. He's technically his mother. The way that their system works is they have a gem, and you kind of reform out of your gem, and he has his mother's gem. So he kind of is his mother, and people identify him as his mother. And so he has to grow past and heal some of the wounds caused by his mother. And as someone who had a difficult relationship with my dad, I really resonated with that. So I just wanted to say for anybody out there who might have that same kind of journey, it might be something kind of therapeutic for you to watch the main character work through. So Austin just finished talking, but I'm going to jump back in with him on movies. So movies that bring some kind of positivity. Austin, what do you got?
Any Star Wars movie, to be honest, or like any like Marvel movie or something like that. Like I'm like a really big movie guy, so like movies in general, like comedies, really anything will put me in a better mood. Just going to putting on my headphones, I usually just watch it on my iPad in my bed. But or like watch on a TV, but it's wherever because I just feel like I go into anything. I don't know. Like all movies really make me happy.
Yeah.
There's not like I could go turn on an Adam Sandler movie and I'd love that. I could go turn on a Marvel movie and I'd be fine with that. So it's not really one set thing for me. And I'm a very open person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm sure, right? No, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people relate to that. I know there are a lot of big movie buffs out there that I'm sure if they're listening are going, yeah, I definitely feel that. Because it can be. I'm not going to lie. One of my favorite date nights is a double feature. Just going to see 2 movies back to back in the theater. I don't know why I love it so much, but I absolutely love it. So I'm glad that is such a big source of joy for you, Austin. How about you, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, listen, one of the worst parts, and obviously this pandemic has wrecked people's lives. It's put people out of work. So my petty problems are nothing in comparison. But honestly, for me, one of the worst parts of this pandemic is the fact that, I mean, I haven't been to a movie theater in even before this got worse. I mean, just because January, February are not usually like big movie months. I mean, I don't think I've been to a movie theater this year. And that's like, usually you'll find me at the movie theaters like every weekend or every other weekend. I mean, just even if it's something I had already seen before, like I love watching movies. It's always a huge therapeutic escape for me. Like, you know, sports are supposed to be an escape, and obviously they are too, and those are also gone. But movies specifically, like, you know, if I ever have if I ever had like a rough day at work or something, I got dumped, it would, it'd always be, okay, well, I'll just go throw on something that makes me feel good.
Yeah.
I totally, I definitely identify with what Austin's saying. In terms of a specific example of just a movie that always never fails to just put me in a fantastic mood, one of my favorite movies is Miracle. For the reason that, I mean, obviously I am a huge hockey fan. Maybe it won't resonate with people as much if they're not as much into hockey, but more than that, it gives you the concept of overcoming odds. Obviously that for anyone who's, either hasn't seen Miracle or just unfamiliar with the state of the world at the time, obviously it was the middle of the Cold War. U.S. competing with Russia over everything, or Soviet Union over everything. But specifically the Soviet Union hockey team was just, they were embarrassing teams on the ice, and the concept of hiring a college coach, working with amateur 18, 19-year-old kids, and saying, hey, you're going to take on this team of 30-plus-year-old stars that are wiping the ice with every team that they play, and basically saying, we're not going to back down to these people. We're going to attack them. We are going to overcome these odds. We're going to implement teamwork. And one of the things that Herb Brooks did is he took people, players from Boston University and University of Minnesota who were not friendly with each other because they had had a bad experience against each other in the NCAA playoffs, and said, hey, you want to settle old scores? You're on the wrong team. It's not a place for you to fight. We're going to become a strong-knit community. And by a certain point in that film, people who had once been at odds with each other were saying, oh, you can't bring in this other player who hadn't been practicing with the team that long because we're a family. That's why we're a family. And sports oftentimes introduces that concept of, not the not nuclear family, but the family fine. You become brothers and sisters in arms through the spirit of competition. And even to this day, I've seen the movie, I can't tell you how many times, but you hear the Al Michaels call spliced in over the footage, the "Do you believe in miracles?" Yes, I still get goosebumps every time. It brings up such fantastic emotions for me. It makes me miss playing hockey. It reminds me why, if I'm fortunate enough to have kids of my own, I want them to get into hockey. I want to coach them in hockey. It's just something that always brings a source of sense of levity and a sense of just good feeling for me. So that's definitely a one that I identify with.
I like that. I feel like. Go ahead, Austin.
That's similar to how I'm with Friday Night Lights. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I feel like, I think Mark brought it up, but I feel like that's something sports does really well. So if you ever wanted to watch anime, not saying that you would like it, Mark, but maybe check out Haikyuu. And I think I'm definitely going to have to check. I've never watched Miracle. I obviously know about what happens, but I think I'm definitely going to have to watch that because it sounds like a lot of the reasons I loved Haikyuu. So that is, I wonder if that's on Disney Plus.
It is.
I feel like it might be. Yes. Okay. So I might watch that today. Actually.
Remember the Titans is Secretariat.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm not a big hockey person, as in I don't know much about it other than the Mighty Ducks, but I actually pop in Miracle at least probably once every 2 months or something. It's such a great movie. And I say this as someone who, I live in Florida, so hockey is really
hockey's not a thing.
It's not very big. It's not a very big thing down here. I know, it's shocking. But yeah, like what Mark said, you watch that movie and it's very inspiring, everything they went through to kind of do it. So great.
Yeah.
Mitch, that maybe where Florida has gone wrong, why it's so crazy.
Yeah, no, that's definitely the one thing.
It's the one and only thing that's got us bad. It's the lack of hockey, honestly.
Right. That's okay. A lot
Makes
of my family
sense.
is from Florida. Honestly, because we're Cuban, so I know how it is down there, Mitch. So I really like that, Mark. I think I'm gonna check that out probably today. Probably gonna try to watch that today. How about you, Haley?
Yeah, just to put it out there on sports, the reason I love the Patriots so much, a big thing, obviously, just being a Patriots fan my whole life helps, but their after win locker room celebrations and the way that they hug each other, say I love you, and they pump each other up before and after games. It's just that family, that love for one another no matter what, and that support of one another, especially when they do really amazing things on the field. It's just really cool to see. And I feel like some sports teams, you don't necessarily always see that. You don't see that super connected family vibe, but you get that from the Patriots locker room. Anyways, throwing out there. There's a lot of Patriots hate out in this world, and that is just something that I love a lot about the team. So back to the actual topic. Movies were harder for me. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I couldn't really come up with like a whole lot of movies that maybe impacted me or were like super positive in my life, but I remember watching Enough with Jennifer Lopez and that domestic violence situation that she fights her way out of, and just that strength and that confidence and the way that it showed women that like you can get out of it. I mean, maybe it's unfortunately ends, I don't want to spoil it in case nobody's seen it, but maybe not in that exact way, but like just to show like that you can be strong even if you're going through some really, really crappy things and really dangerous situations. So I wouldn't say that necessarily impacted me specifically. I haven't been through that type of situation, but just women in general, I feel like that's a really good movie. And then I had to bring up basically anything that Sandra Bullock has been in, like anything, because she has played some of my favorite characters of all time. Miss Congeniality. She is she's in the FBI, and then when she does the pageant, she's Miss New Jersey. Okay, so I was born in Jersey, guys, and my dream career field was the FBI. So like, I am Sandra Bullock in that. Just saying. The Heat, Ocean's 8, like all of her characters where she's just played this like really cool, strong woman, either FBI or whatever. Like The Heat was hilarious, obviously.
It was so funny.
Yeah, but she was also an FBI agent in that movie too. So I was like, dang, like she is what I want to be. And so I feel like just the same as like the serial killer documentaries and stuff, Miss Congeniality, although the beauty pageants part aside, made me like, I was like, ooh, the FBI is kind of cool. Like maybe I should look into that. And then, unfortunately, dreams changed over time. It still kind of is a dream of mine, but
that you can achieve.
Yeah,
I believe in you.
I don't know. Diabetes, like it disqualifies me from the military, so I don't know if it would disqualify me from other certain positions just because of like what you would have to do.
Yeah.
Maybe not what I want to do in the FBI, but like the field agent maybe. Anyways, that was another tangent. You're welcome. The last movie I put was Burlesque, which seems like a really weird option, right? But with Christina Aguilera, it got a lot of hate, but I absolutely love that movie.
I love Cher.
Love it. I still listen to those songs when I'm working out because they will pump you up and they'll make you like work out hard because they are just quick beats. And the first time I watched it, I honestly wanted to learn burlesque after. Like, I didn't.
Yes, I love that.
So failed on that. But yeah, I was like, man, it's like these women are being like sexy and sensual without like taking all their clothes off. And so I felt like that to like get some inner confidence and then also to like put that outer beauty as well. So maybe I should still try to learn burlesque, but I really don't have
that with you.
So.
There's always time.
Yeah. Christian's actually a really good dancer. I don't have that much rhythm. So.
Oh, that's funny.
I mean, she did say Cuban. You got a salsa.
She tries to laugh and say no, but like the only person I danced with at clubs was her growing up, like when we were 18. To, like,
she knows how to salsa.
Right. I had to learn how to salsa, though.
Yeah. What?
Say that. Yes.
I love salsa. It's so fun.
I had to learn.
Yeah.
Probably still
it's not like just like in your blood, like an Irish with the drinking problem.
There's the funny
not get into stereotypes.
My dad had a lot of Irish in him, and I don't drink, so I'm busting stereotypes left and right.
So yeah, that's all I put. I mean, obviously Disney as a kid was just always would make me happy. Jasmine had a pet tiger. I wanted a pet tiger. Yes. Never got one. I learned from Tiger King that's only like $2,000, so possibilities.
You're so funny.
Just kidding. So I would never buy a tiger.
Because you're responsible. I understand. Yeah.
I love Miss Congeniality.
It was a really good movie. I was really sad that I feel like that also breaks the stereotype because she didn't end up with what's his name in the second movie.
Yeah, it's not
that's
like
different.
It's not happy ending. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you, Haley. How about you, Mitch? What do you have?
For me, all of the ones you guys have said have been great, and I think those are all really great positive films. For me, one of them is Across the Universe, which is basically a musical with the Beatles. For me, it's a very positive film because a lot of the themes in that movie it's still prevalent today, I think. And I mean, the Beatles music for me is very special. It's something that I use with, I connect with my grandparents with, and I grew up with that. So, and their music has always been a positive thing for me. Whenever I'm kind of down, I listen to it, and it's just a very great film. It didn't get the attention it deserved when it first came out, but I think that had a lot to do with how it was marketed and all that stuff. But if you watch it now, it's still like stands the test of time. You hear like how they sing "Let It Be" in that movie, and it's just it's such a powerful scene, especially with the times we've got going on right now. And then my nerdy pick will be actually Avengers Endgame.
Nice.
I think I still get goosebumps every time I see it. The portal scene. It's kind of like a culmination of those 10 years of build up. You get kind of like that tight feeling in your throat of emotion.
Yeah.
When you see that scene, because it's really powerful. Honestly, it's like we're all coming together. We're all here, united. It's even though it's obviously it's a comic book film, but there's something really positive about coming together to fight something that is threatening us, like the Rona. And I wish that's something that we could mimic on our end right now. But yeah, that for me. That's a really powerful, positive film. So I'll watch it, even though like there's obviously like dark parts in it, with Black Widow and everything. But the way it ends, it's really like on a very positive note for me.
Yeah, nice. I agree, and I think truly that's one of the things I like about a lot of the things that make me feel positive is that vibe of coming together to accomplish something bigger than yourself or bigger than even a team of people. Sometimes you need more help, and I definitely think you hit it head on for what I think is great about that movie too, Mitch. So for me, I agree with Haley, it was kind of hard for me to think of movies. I think that's partially just that I forget a lot of things, so I probably have forgotten more movies than I remember. But I definitely wanted to bring up the Lord of the Rings. Now, I know Tolkien is obviously a huge writer, but I could never get into his books. They were a little heavy for me. So the movies were a more digestible way to be able to immerse myself into that story. And as a writer, I have always been so enthralled by the depth that he created in that world. Obviously, not just in the movies, but looking into the lore. I mean, he has his own universe going, kind of like what Star Wars has done. There's just so much to that content that it inspires me as a writer to try to create worlds for people, because that's something truly magical and something that outlasts the writer themselves when you can create something like that can be so intriguing and so encompassing to a lot of people. So Lord of the Rings, I've liked all of the movies. I know some people probably disagree with me. I even like the Hobbit movies. So just everything that has had Tolkien's stamp on it, I really enjoy. Legolas is the best character in Lord of the Rings. You can fight me about that. Might also just be that I really like elves. Elves are like elves, dragons, love those kind of things. But yeah, so Lord of the Rings and Tolkien, a huge, huge positive influence on me as a writer. Now, we're going to get into a fun one. I think this is fun because it's a very wide topic. We're doing written media, so that would include books and comics. Now, I wanted to go ahead and hand it off to... Yes, I wanted to make sure that we didn't leave comics out, because that's a big thing. If any of our listeners or viewers are on here too, and you feel like manga, that's another written form of media. It's like Japanese comic books, basically. If you want to share any manga that you really love, go ahead and do that for us in the comments. Now, I would love to hear about Austin, some of his books. I know he's spoken about books before, or comics.
I mean, like, I like real, like, stories, so, like, that's nonfiction, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Not fiction, not fake. Yeah.
I like reading, like, the war books of, like, I really liked, like, American Sniper and stuff like that. Of, like, those stories of, like, Chris Kyle and his journey with CTE and, like, how he had to keep going back and back. And, like, those stories really intrigued me, as well as pretty much comic books intrigue me as well.
Yeah.
I'm not like the most avid reader. Obviously, like if I have to read something for school, I'm gonna do it. But like if I see a book that I like, as similar to as I just said with like American Sniper or something like that, then I'll read something. I'm not the most avid reader.
Okay. I love how you just killed Mark up there with your nonfiction question. I think Mark died a little inside.
I'm supposed to pay attention in classes about that stuff.
We're supposed to learn elementary level knowledge? What?
What?
I have head trauma from when I was a kid. That explains that.
I love it. That's so funny. All right, so how about you, Mark? What do you have for us? Comics and books.
Yeah, so the comic that I read a ton of comics when I was a kid. That was actually a couple birthdays in a row. It's just what my parents would get for me when I was like 9 or 10. They would just like put a big stack of Spider-Man comics under my pillow. They stopped hiding it there when I would like reach underneath and run into their room at like 1 a.m. be like, look what I got. And I'd be like, it's not your birthday yet. Back to sleep. But Civil War was definitely the comic that, and it actually came out when I was a little bit older. It didn't come out until 2006. So not exactly a childhood influencer like some of the other comics were, but at the time, obviously, the MCU did not exist yet. So this was a different spin on Civil War, and it had to do with government registration of superheroes, and unlike the MCU, we're pretty much like, with the exception of Spider-Man, and then at the end of Far From Home, we knew Spider-Man's identity too. Like everyone would like you know who all these heroes are. They're like public figures. In the comics, obviously that's not the case. So the fact that they would have to I register with the government and regulated. There's a lot of parallels to that.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I always resonated with was like, oh, this sucks that like there's a version of themselves that they could keep secret from the rest of the world. And similar to a conversation that we had on a previous pod where you feel sometimes growing up that like whether it was you, Christian, with trying to keep like how much you loved anime secret from everybody, or just the shows that we would watch growing up, like the concept of being a nerdy kid, keep that from other people. That concept of okay, well, these heroes are being forced to like publicly identify themselves, or like those criminals, like that I always kind of struck a chord with me. And how like there's so many people out there who in a much more real way have to hide who they are from the rest of the world. So that kind of trumps my smaller problem of being embarrassed to admit that I was jealous.
That's true. I feel that way too.
It's something that I reread it recently, and it made me kind of like some of those different chords kind of
hit a little different now.
Exactly. And then another pure book form is I really liked. I spoke about this previously. I read the Animorphs books. Just League.
Yes, Mark.
Yes.
When I was younger, and those two, just like I would just dive into those, and my head wouldn't come back up until I was done with it.
Yes.
Those just gave me such like. I think those really got me to embrace my creative side. Like I started writing, I don't think I still have any of them, but I would write like short stories in like my school notebook.
Nice.
And it just got me to like express myself a little bit more. Just it's like my first foray into reading somewhat of a science fiction type of literature. So that was something that had a big influence on me growing up.
I resonate with that a lot, because I feel like for a lot of writers, there's always that thing that it's that tipping point for you where you're like, maybe I could try this. And I like that. And I loved Animorphs. I still remember like flipping through the pages and you could watch them morph from animal to human and back. Oh, I love all of the Animorph books. So thank you for sharing those. How about you, Haley?
So, I mean, I think we've all heard that I'm just a huge reader. Okay, that's what I do all the time. My Kindle gets a lot of use. I read to like kind of leave reality almost. Like that's if I'm stressed out, then I'm gonna pick up a book and read it, and that's so really any book I read, it kind of leaves a positive spin for me, because that's why I read it, is to relax or to kind of push away the negative things. I do read a lot of romance novels. I am that girl. If you listen to our first episode of Girls Pod, then you heard us interviewing my favorite author on my Kindle, Aubrey Bondurant. So that was super cool. Anyways, enough of that. I'm going to do a little bit of show and tell for you guys. It was amazing. I'm currently reading the Bella Twins autobiography.
Nice.
Incomparable. And before you ask, I did buy the signed one.
Love that. For those who don't know, the Bella Twins are female wrestlers.
Yes, they are retired WWE. They are both pregnant and about to pop. They own a clothing company. They own a hair care, skin care company. They own a wine company. They're just huge entrepreneurs. They had a lot of difficulties in their childhood growing up between like their mom and dad's relationship and stuff. So I'm really excited to dive into this. They're very open people in their show Total Bellas and online. And so I don't know. I feel like I look up to them because they're just such strong women and they're just so successful, and they've self-made themselves to be successful. So I'm excited to read it. I just started it, so I can't give too much on it, but yeah. So first grade, back to first grade. I read this book called The Bravest Cat, The True Story of Scarlet by Laura Driscoll. I looked it up because I didn't currently still have the book, but it was a true story about a cat who ran into a burning building and saved 5 of its kittens, and it went blind because of it. And then it goes through like them getting adopted and stuff. So I'm going to share with you first grade Haley here. So this right here.
Oh, I love
this is my description of the book, which was horrible, by the way, guys. The bravest cat. A kitten died. Scarlet has burns on her eyes. Haley.
Round
that
of
was
applause.
beautiful.
Even better.
Should be nominated for an award.
Here was my drawing of a cat next to some letters. Because people wrote Scarlet, like people actually wrote this cat letters. And we weren't allowed to write words other than our name, because you can't wash this or else it'll lose all of its color. So we couldn't write too much on it. So it's just my name. But yeah. So not an artist.
I mean, you were like 6, so I think that can be forgiven. I think that was pretty good for a 6-year-old.
Not a great storyteller, obviously, because I just really didn't describe the book to its justice. But I just love that book, and I loved cats, and that was probably my first, like, other than having a pet cat, that was probably my first love for something like with Aladdin and all that. And that first grade teacher, shout out to her. Like, our class size is pretty big, and she read every single one of our favorite books to us. And then we did this exercise, and then she sewed that quilt, and then she gave it to me in 6th grade because my dad had rejoined the military. We were moving, and she wanted me to have something. So just amazing teacher, by the way. Anyway. Yeah, so that was a great book growing up, always positive. I wish I still had it. I might order it just to have it at home. Also, any Dr. Seuss books, mainly Oh, the Places You'll Go. Just a great book for, like, you know, dreaming, having those dreams and trying to succeed and achieve them. And surprisingly, loving Oh, the Places You'll Go as a kid, and then applying to college, I actually had to write a college essay application on the book Oh, the Places You'll Go to get into the school. So I was like, wow, it's just like follow me.
How serendipitous.
Yeah. I'm not going to show you because then I would have to like not be wearing pants, but I have a very large Dr. Seuss tattoo on my thigh. Christian has seen it.
It's beautifully done.
Yes, I love my tattoo artist. He's amazing. It has Cat in the Hat, the Lorax, Thing 1, Thing 2, and my next step is to add like Oh, the Places You'll Go, The Grinch, Horton, stuff like that. But yeah, so it's had a huge impact, obviously, or wouldn't be tattooed on me. I remember my mom used to read us Dr. Seuss books as a kid, and she got real tired of one fish, two fish, like fish. But yeah, those were just the main books I could think of, but really all books are positive to me.
Yes. And I feel like, just like Austin said with movies, that a lot of people will relate to that. Absolutely. Books are a wonderful way to escape into something amazing.
Yeah.
For me, no worries. For me, comic book wise, there's a limited series that came out with Superman, so All-Star Superman. I think that one, actually, I didn't really read it until a few years ago, actually. But I'm a huge Superman fan. I was reading it while I was dealing with like some grief and all that stuff. And it's something that like you don't expect comic books to really resonate with you when you're in kind of that type of point in your life. But the story, it's a short story, really. And it was kind of like highlighting all of the good aspects of Superman. But what resonated with me was how he, spent time with his father, who he lost, and it was kind of like a very, it was a very beautiful book. The sentiment behind him looking back on the great moments that he had with his family, especially his father, who he lost. So that for me really resonated with me, and I found it to be very powerful, very positive. So it goes to show that you can find positivity not in books, comics, mangas, like anything. Yeah. As long as it resonates with you on a personal level, I think that it's a really great medium to have. And on a lighter note, I really enjoyed the Eragon series. I know a lot of people said that the his storyline was very similar to like Star Wars and all that stuff, and maybe that's why I enjoyed it so much. But to me, I just really enjoyed the world building, and I liked the whole dragon thing. I liked it. I liked the world building, and it's just his journey. I really liked his journey. And maybe one more. It's Waking Up by Sam Harris. It's about finding spirituality without religion. Now, I'm not going to get into all that stuff, but it was a very good book because it helped me sort of find a way to meditate. Because I didn't even realize just how much that can help when you're stressed out throughout the day. And he has like these really great techniques, and it has nothing. It's not specific to any religion, which is great. So I think a lot of people can read it and find something that they can find useful from it. So yeah, those are the three things that I really enjoyed reading and brought some positivity to my life.
Nice. I saw Haley write the name of that one down.
I did.
Yeah.
I wrote down that and Orphan Black. So thank you, Mitch.
Let me know your thoughts.
Drop in all the recommendations. So I really like and I appreciate Mitch you opening up about that series for Superman, because my first book is actually kind of an opening up. I've never really talked about this before kind of thing. But for me, when my parents got a divorce, it was a very ugly situation. My parents didn't have a clean divorce. It was very messy. My mom got into a relationship very soon after we moved out of our home in with my stepdad and my stepfamily. And so it was a very, very difficult, probably one of the most difficult times I've ever gone through in my whole life. And at that time, I found a book in the library called The Unicorn Treasury. And I said fantasy is another huge part of my nerdy identity. And just that book is a compilation of stories and poems and lore all about unicorns. And something about that book just transported me in such a way that it made me feel like things were going to be okay. And I can't even tell anybody why that happened, why it was like that for me. But I remember any time that I was sad, I would sit down and read it, and it just gave me this feeling like there was something out there that was going to make things okay. And I think it's just the general premise of, a lot of the unicorns in the stories are kind of shown as heroes who are getting people out of bad situations or helping people find a better path and that kind of stuff. But I don't think I could have handled that situation the way that I handled it if I didn't have that book with me to get me through. So I definitely, for anybody, especially if we have any parents or any young viewers who might be going through difficult stuff, I can't say obviously that book will do what it did for me for anyone else, but if you have a kid that's already into unicorns or fantasy, I would highly recommend it. I looked it up on Amazon. I think I am going to buy it again. Haley said she might buy her book. I think I'm going to buy this one to keep on my bookshelf. It's only like $8 for paperback, so I would recommend that one highly. The other one, again, I said I want to be a veterinarian forever. I was a huge reader when I was little, so I read all of the James Herriot books. For anybody that doesn't know about James Herriot, he was a country vet in England, so he would travel around the countryside doing large animal husbandry. And these books, I mean, they're thick, like small printed, huge books, but I was just immersed in the world of everything that he did. He has books like All Creatures Great and Small that just talk about, you know, not only what he went through as a vet, but that every animal deserves help, that we should try to do everything we can to be good to all creatures, great and small. Just really, really good messages embedded in the cool stories he would tell. And there are a few other books. I have one actually that I should have grabbed so I could remember the title. See, I can't remember the title, and I feel bad.
Do you remember the royal ones, the Royal Diary?
Yes. Oh my gosh, I do remember those. Haley's showing that one's Cleopatra.
Favorite one growing up, and that's why I bought it. So I buy stuff kind of just to leave on my shelf because they're great memories, you know. So
I agree. I know my fiance has nearly every Animorphs book at his parents' house. I need to bring them to my
Mark's
house.
so happy about that.
Yes, I need to get them here because I will absolutely reread those in a heartbeat. But I know I've had several books that have inspired me as a writer, kind of given me jumping points to think of my own stories. Books that give me hope that maybe one day I'll be able to write my own book, because that is a goal of mine.
Because, by the way, guys, she is an absolutely amazing writer that makes you want to read more. Like when you finish the chapter she sends you, you're like, okay, I'm ready. Where's the next one?
I'm glad. I'm very fortunate that people have enjoyed the limited amount that I've written. I suffer from writing ADD, where I'm like, oh, this story, but now this idea, and then that idea. So who knows if I'll ever write one, but I've had a lot of stories that have just inspired me and moved me to create my own worlds, kind of like I talked about with Lord of the Rings and the movies. But yeah, I think books are something that a lot of people, I know movies too, but I feel like I hear more often that books are kind of that escape route, something that you dive into and just become so immersed in that it gives you a break from other things that you might be dealing with. So I thought it was really important to include those. I wish that I had comics or manga that I could say were the same. I don't. My fiance got me into superheroes, but I've never really gotten into comics other than just doing research on superheroes. And manga, obviously, any anime that I like, the manga is probably as good or better. So if you've heard me recommend an anime, I would go check out the manga if that's something that you are interested in. And with that, I wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity to bring up anything that you feel has brought positivity to your life that isn't in one of these categories that I brought up. So I know that Haley has something she might want to share. If there's anything else that just isn't purely on this list, this is your moment to be able to share it. Do you have anything, Austin, that wouldn't be TV, movies, comics, books?
Music.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I like that. Do you have any specifically that bring that to you? Or are you just a music guy?
I'm a music guy, but like I love the Beatles because like that's like those are the songs. I think I've mentioned it here or on one of them, but like the Beatles are like I grew up listening to that because obviously our parent like it was our parents' generation of like the Beatles, Peter, Paul, and Mary, and stuff like that. And those are the songs that put me to sleep as a kid.
Nice.
So like probably my favorite song from probably of all time is "Love Me Do" by the Beatles. I don't know why. There's like but I just remember because there's a video of me dancing to it on like one of our old videos.
That's amazing.
Well, we need to see that.
We need to see it. Right? Yeah, I need to find it.
Oh, I saw it the other day. Like last week.
We need to see it.
Okay, I'll record.
Share with the group.
Twitter chat or something.
I'll put it on my TV, then record it.
Nice.
But I was probably like 2, and I was just dancing, and that's probably So music.
Yeah. Nice. I think that's a great topic to bring up. How about you, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, music is an obvious one just because, I mean, I think that applies to literally any of us. If there's music, a song or an album that came out at a particular time of our lives, anytime you put that back on and listen to it again, you're most likely going to be reminded of the emotions that you felt at that time, whether it was, you heard it at a specific concert, whether it was something positive that was happening or something negative. I mean, you do feel a little bit of how you felt that way. So I mean that I think applies to everybody, but specific to me, and I've spoken about this several times, and I mean, it's technically TV, but it's really not really like just videos that you can just watch now. But I mean, I unapologetically will watch Bob Ross at any time, whether it's to go to sleep or just if I need to relax, I will just put on. And I'm disappointed in Netflix. They pulled Bob Ross off of Netflix, but all of his stuff's on YouTube. It's just a bit more annoying because you gotta deal with ads. So you can watch all like 30 seasons of Bob Ross on YouTube now, but just it provides you that initial escape of you're just like literally watching him create happy little trees or happy little bush, or we're just going to put a little mountain right here and be our secret, not too much, like it's just he's literally creating a scene like right in front of you. So yeah, like I to de-stress or just to put myself in a state of relaxation, I will just first instinct will be to pop that on. So that is just something that I think spreads a ton of positivity. I mean, he's just, and if you read up on Bob Ross as just a person, about his history, he had a military background. He was someone who decided that he would never raise his voice to express himself after a particular experience that he had. So that's why literally in all these videos you just hear this very soft monotone voice. That's how he actually conducted himself in real life. So when I think of like positivity and creativity and how that can all manifest itself, I think of Bob Ross. And one of these days I might actually attempt to paint along with the program. That was the whole point of the program, is like, oh yeah, you could just see how easy it is to do. Like I still look at it, I'm like, there's no way I'd be able to do that correctly.
You gotta send us the final product.
One of these days I actually try to paint along with him.
Nice. My fiance for Christmas last year or the year before actually got a Bob Ross painting kit. So like has Bob Ross on it, has all his colors in it and stuff. I agree. I feel like he resurged a lot when ASMR kind of got big. I feel like Bob Ross came back onto the scene in a big way, and I completely agree with you. He's so relaxing and was such a genuinely like kind person throughout his life. I like that a lot. Thank you for sharing. How about you, Haley?
So I'm pretty sure Mark has a birthday coming up, so that Bob Ross painting kit might be might be something. Just saying. Right? Add to that wish list, Mark. But real quick, I know that we're getting close to time here, so I just wanted to do real quick, just like books where I can like lose myself in a book. That's kind of why I play The Sims. You just like immerse yourself in this fake world and you create it. And if you're like me, you cheat and make them rich. And I'm not rich in real life, so that's great. But as a kid, it was Barbies. I know that sounds so lame, but
not lame at all.
I'm gonna out myself. I had so many Barbies as a kid. I played Miss America with 3 judges and a host.
Nice.
And an outfit change. Okay, so I had a lot of Barbies. I don't want to ruin certain magical beings for any kids listening, but the Tooth Fairy would bring me Barbies instead of dollar bills. So
yeah,
I had a lot, and I really enjoyed making up stories and like kind of like instead of writing a book, like creating that with the Barbies. And then when I got in middle school, I was able to just give my whole bucket of stuff to like a 4-year-old little girl neighbor. So I was able to kind of pass that on to somebody else. So yeah. That's it.
Okay. I wanted to make sure you had a chance to share Sims because I know that's a really big thing for you.
I played it all day. I was almost late because of that.
Nice. How about you, Mitch? Anything for you?
For me, if this pandemic has taught me anything, it's actually Legos.
Okay.
And I think I have Mark to thank for that too, because he also kind of like inspired me to get some. It was honestly like a great experience. I used to like them obviously as a kid. And now with the pandemic, spending more time with my family, I actually got like the Friends set
Sweet.
Legos, and I was building them. My mom saw me, and she just like joined me out of the blue, and it became like this thing that we started doing like 2 hours a night.
That's
We would build.
amazing.
Yeah, and it was like a really nice experience, something very positive when in a time where we were kind of feeling very isolated from everyone else. And it was just calming. I could kind of like shut off my brain and just focus on that, not have to focus on all the stuff that's going on right now. So yeah, Legos definitely kind of brought back a bit of a childhood happiness in a rough time for me.
I think that's why Legos are so huge for so many people because it's something adults can do, but it's very nostalgic and very it's creative. It's something that you can do and build something with your own hands, and I think that's a cool thing for a lot of people. I'm glad you and your mom get to do that together, though. That's beautiful. Yeah. So, jumping off a little bit of what Austin said with music, I hadn't thought of music until Austin said it, but I just wanted to link real quick. There's a song, I believe the singer's name is Anne Harriet. I might be wrong. But it's called Bridge Over Troubled Water, and that's something I'm going to try not to get emotional when I bring this up. I apologize in advance if I do, but my nanny, that's what I called my grandma, would play that song to wake me up when I was at her house. She would never let my mom wake me up in any harsh way. So she would come in and like open the windows and put on this like Bridge Over Troubled Water soft music and just slowly let me wake up. And that just in and of itself is the essence of how caring she was for everyone she knew. And no, I'm not going to get emotional. And that song just always brings me a lot of warmth, I guess. Anytime I hear it, it's one of those songs. Honestly, if I ever need a good cry, I'll put that on and just let myself get emotional and remember her. She passed away, unfortunately. So that one has always been really just has a lot of depth to me. Like it's one of those songs that hits me in my soul. It's just a part of who I am and a part of really beautiful memories for me. And also, I touched on it some, but writing in general. So if you're anyone out there who feels like you have something to say, no matter what it is, I write fiction stuff because that's what I enjoy. I enjoy consuming that. So I enjoy putting that out into the world. But if you just feel like you have a message that needs to be put out or that people need to hear, I think it is an amazing way of expressing yourself because each person in this world has a message, no matter what it is, that you could share that could impact someone in a positive way. So I want to shout out, just while I'm on it, shameless plug, that Mark has been running the Pones Media website, doing an amazing job on that and collecting a lot of written material, not just from himself, but from other people on the Pones team that I feel are really, really great. If you guys are looking for some written media to be looking into, I would definitely go check that out. And with that, with my message of put out positivity into the world, guys, we are done. So I want to give a huge thank you to everyone who's here today sharing with me, because I feel like we dove into some things, not just me, but everybody, and kind of sharing a bit of ourselves with each other and our audience. So I want to thank all of you sincerely for being here and doing that with me. I want to make sure our listeners and our viewers have the chance to figure out where to follow us on social media. I know Pones is on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and we have our website. So you can find us in any of those places, as well as Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Please let us know what you think of our pods. We pay attention. If you have any feedback, leave that for us. But I want to start, we're going to go in the same order. So I'm going to start with Austin. Austin, where can our listeners and viewers find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Austin_Will. And one thing I had forgotten to mention for other things that makes me feel positive, video games.
Yes, okay. I like that you brought that up.
I just forgot about that, and then I remembered it. And then also I kind of want to take out my Legos.
Do
Do it, man.
Do it.
They're right.
Inspiring
They're
each
pretty
other.
much right next to me. Yeah, after
Do
that.
it and put that out too. Tweet those out. Let us know what you build. All right. So
I
how
remember
about
I
you?
built some weird shit back in the day.
That's okay. That's the point of Legos. You build whatever
Exactly.
you want. Just don't leave them out where you're gonna step on them in the dark. That's the worst. That's a
okay.
great way to start your day off horribly.
That's a wake
So
up
how
call.
about you, Mark? Where can we find you?
So I can be found on twitter.com, the Bird app, at Mark Piselli 13. That is Piselli. Earlier, Mitch was saying that she and Haley are two peas in a pod. Piselli is actually Italian for peas. So you're all
That's
about
funny.
Piselli in a
Nice.
and like Christian mentioned, ponesmedia.com. I think we're going to try and get one of Christian's stories, a couple of Christian stories on there. So that'd be cool. But we just put up a article today, a shameless plug about the Patrick Mahomes contract, and if you go to read it, you can find out exactly how many bottles of ketchup Patrick Mahomes could purchase. So.
Just the dedication to figure out that equation.
It didn't take me that long, actually.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of Microsoft Excel. The research took me 5 minutes, and Excel did the rest.
Yep.
Sweet. That sounds like probably a highlight of the article, though. Not the only one, but a highlight.
Of course.
And how about you, Haley? Where can we find you?
So you can find me on Twitter at CSI Haley. You can find me co-hosting Girls Pod and also as a regular guest on True Crime and Chill. If you want to know what UFO 2 means, you need to listen to our latest episode of True Crime and Chill. It was fun. It was a hoot. Me, Mitch, and Gabby, I laughed the entire time, even though we're talking about things that maybe aren't as laughable. We found times to throw it in there. I'm not going to give it away because I want people to be surprised at the topic, but UFO 2.
UFO 2.
The other part of UFO 2. Let's hear from Mitch.
I'm the other Piselli in the pod. You guys can find me on the Twitter at Mitch1128 and under the handle Count Boozy Von Drunkaton, which I think should probably change. I haven't had a drink in a while. I know, right?
Von drunk a little.
Von drunk a little. I know. Shocking, right?
Von drunk
Pandemic. Weird times. But yeah, you guys can find me on there, and I'm also a regular guest on True Crime. And you guys definitely should listen to that episode after you're done listening to this one. It's awesome. It's great. We had a fun time, and yeah, hope everyone has a good one.
I know. I'm looking forward to listening to it. And as for me, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at It's Me Christian G. That's Christian with a K. And just in case it's confusing, that's Kristian. It's a weird spelling, I know. And yes, if you're watching the Pones Media website, look out for an article from me. I plan to get it up soon. I'm also on Girls Pod. I would love to come on True Crime and Chill at some day.
We might have a Texas episode, so you're going to have to be on the Texas one.
There you go, since that's probably the only way I can relate to True Crime. I live in Texas.
No, it's great. So just real quick, shameless little plug here. Anybody can be on True Crime and Chill. Gabby does amazing at research, and there's things that we don't know that she tells us, and we just kind of react to the information. So you don't have to know it beforehand to be on it.
Or to listen to it. It sounds like a great time. I like it. And with that, guys, thank you for being here. I hope that you will come back and join us for our next episode. I am looking forward to recording it. And with that, everybody say bye.
Bye. Have a good time.
Oh,